What's up, Invincible Kings? Grab that coffee out. This is the AimsandSecrets.com show, and your host, David Aladdin. We are live at the International Command Center, outpost number 50, podcast 50. I've built the show to jump past the basics and into the Amazon war. We are the front lines, the strategists. While the corporate guys are sleeping, we are building our kingdoms. I look to understand the person, their strategies, secrets, so that all of us can build our businesses. Today's sponsor is AimsandSecrets.com War Room, which is now accessible to all VIPs. War Room, which directly integrates into Keyword King, tells you if your keywords that you are using in each list are actually working or not. More info to come on that. And today on the show, we've got a special guest. His name's Caleb Roth. Caleb is a purveyor of fine books who specializes in data and software. Welcome to the show. Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, Dave, thanks for having me on. I'm coming to you live from Denver, Colorado. Actually, my internal clock is way messed up. I just got back last night from a week in the Czech Republic visiting my brother. So cool. If I fall asleep halfway through our podcast, it's not you, it's me.
Cool. So go ahead.
Yeah, I'm in Denver. I have a website called thebookflipper.com, and I've built a business kind of like you did. I quit my corporate job about a year and a half ago and built a lifestyle business at this point, but I'm working on transitioning that more into a scalable business where I can remove myself from the equation.
What were you doing before that?
I worked in medical device. I worked for Johnson & Johnson division doing hip and knee replacements.
Actually, I play soccer, so I use their soccer wraps a lot.
Nice.
Okay, so, and then what made you decide you wanted to switch over?
I've always been an entrepreneur. Never really wanted to do the corporate thing, but had an opportunity out of college. You get that first job, and it was an internship at first, lasted for a year. They liked me. I didn't have a great idea yet to go out on my own, and figured I'd learn while working for another company. And that 1 year turned into about 5.5 actually, and got married just over 3 years ago now. And the job was awesome. When I was a bachelor, I got to travel the country. I was on the road probably 80 to 120 days a year, all over the country, even a few trips outside the country. So it was a great gig. But as I got married, it's tough to be on the road 100 days a year and be away from your wife.
What did she say about you switching into the entrepreneurship life?
Well, she's more the grounded one. I'm kind of the big idea guy. So I would have been ready, like you did, just to throw the towel in. I love your story. You went into your boss, negotiated a raise, and the next day came in and said, "I'm done. See ya." I didn't quite go as aggressive as that. If it was just me, I might have.
Yeah.
But with my wife being more grounded, she's like, "Hey, prove it. Let's build something on the side." And that's what we set out to do. And that's what I share through my blog. It's kind of my story of saying, hey, what's a goal? For us, it was just 100 books a week. I started with books, and actually I'm still with books, and we'll get into that more in the conversation today. But the idea was, what if we did 100 books a week? Is that a scalable business? Is that something that, you don't sell a ton of books. They don't have a high turn rate like a lot of other inventory does. So if you got 100 books in inventory, you might sell 2 or 3 a week. You're not going to pay a mortgage or even, pay for a round of beers with that. But if you can get 1,000 books, what does that look like? What about 5,000 books? What does that look like? And, you map out a spreadsheet, you get a plan and say, hey, let's just keep doing this 100 books a week, maybe more if we're able. Let's build this on the side. And we did that.
Without going too far ahead, what number of books are you at currently, like today?
We got about 17,000 in inventory right now.
And that's within a year and a half, correct?
Yes, actually about 2 years now.
It's incredible. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back. So your wife was actually very supportive of your decision to switch. What'd you do with your corp? Because when I quit my job, it was actually extremely hard for me to go to my boss. I literally printed out every document I could find on should I quit my job, and I still have, the binder of just like hundreds of papers printed out of all these people that have done it, and what happened like before and after, and they're all saying how, it was the hardest decision at the time, but they don't regret it, now, and they're surprised they didn't do it even earlier. Do you feel the same way?
Oh yeah, I mean, I agree with you as far as like leading up to it. It's tough because the our society says, do the secure thing, keep a job, work 40 hours, 60 hours for the man, do your thing. I was fortunate enough, J&J still has pension. So if I had stuck with it, now I don't think that'll last 30, 40 years, but they'll have to buy it out at some point if they do transition away. So from that standpoint, it's very difficult. My father-in-law has worked a great job. My dad's worked a great job for the last 30 years. And so it's actually harder to go to them and say, hey, I'm going to step away from a safe, secure, six-figure job and pursue my own business.
Yeah. My dad was actually totally against it. And my mom was actually like the one who pushed me through it. Okay, so. Yeah.
Were you scared before? I mean,
I was terrified.
What were you afraid of, like what your boss would say, or just if you could make it, or where was the fear?
The weird thing is I had no doubt that I would be able to make it. The problem was convincing others that I would be able to make it. But then, you always have that hindsight and that split second where you're like, what if it doesn't work out? Well, you could always go back to the job. There's no hurt there. You have the degree, or you have the credentials to go back in.
So your fear wasn't based on a lack of, confidence in your own abilities. It was more of a people-pleasing mentality, right?
Well, I had like a business going on the side. So I was working on it, 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. So were you selling books like while you were in the corporate job?
Yeah, and we had initially merchant fulfilled everything, and so we were actually going home at night and shipping books out, or if I was on the road, my wife would have to ship them out while I was gone. And then we switched over to FBA and let Amazon deal with all the logistics, and that was really the turning point for us.
I think like if you have at least 15%, I would say around 15% of your income, doing it 2 to 3 hours a day, then if you took 8 hours in a day and tried to drive that 15% to 100%, I think it's totally doable, especially if you're committing 100% focus into your endeavor. And,
it is. The trick is you got to have a little bit of a nest egg saved up, because business takes a lot of cash flow. Cash is king. It's the lifeblood of your business. And unfortunately, most Americans and most people live paycheck to paycheck, even if they are making six figures.
So how much of a nest egg did you have? If you could share?
At the time when I quit my job, I dabbled in real estate too. My wife and I owned 4 rental properties, 9 or 7 units at the time. We had 3 duplexes and a single family home.
Wow.
So we had some cash flow off that, which helped. Probably in the bank when I actually walked away, maybe 20 to 30K. So it wasn't a huge amount.
Income. That's cool.
Yeah, we actually sold off all the real estate. It was way too much of a headache for now at this stage of our lives. So we cashed out, moved out to Denver. Real estate's much more expensive out here. And so we actually used that money to put a down payment on a house out here.
Very cool. I've always considered real estate. It's just there's so much unknown I don't know about it. It's a different specialty area.
Well, and you're down in Florida. Real estate's pretty cheap as well.
But the town I live in is insane, actually. It's almost California, but maybe not. I don't want to speak too soon.
Yeah, you're on the East Coast there?
No, West Coast. So I'm in Naples. So
okay.
Basically, a lot of the CEOs of like major companies all around the U.S. come to retire here. So it's just increased the housing a lot.
Yeah, what's an entry-level house cost in the area? Like a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,200, 1,500 square foot. What's that going to run you?
Probably around $500-600.
Yeah, that is California. Here in Denver, you're looking at low 3s just to get in the door anywhere.
Yeah, well, I was looking at Palo Alto. There's an article yesterday that was in the news, and they were sick. It was insane. The prices, everybody was moving away because it was like $6,000 for rent, but I'm not sure.
Wow.
It was okay. So you started selling books 1.5 years after quitting, and the first few months, how did that look like?
Really the turning point. So I actually was fortunate. I did a couple of career hops. So you talk about, the fear you get of trying to quit your job. I was kind of in your boat. I knew I'd figure something out. We could always live cheaply, live within our means. We lived in Indiana at the time, and it's very cheap. An entry-level home, even a nice entry-level home, you're talking low ones. And so you're in the door a lot cheaper. Your cost of living's a lot cheaper. And you can always just cut back on food and travel and whatever else and make ends meet if you have to. So you can get by just fine with 30 or 40 grand or even 25, 30 grand income each year. So I was never worried that we wouldn't make it happen. But I actually switched from a marketing gig to sales training. I love to teach. I love to coach. And so I switched over to a sales training job and went back and forth. Do I make this transition? What will my boss think? I was on a great team at the time. And actually, my boss talked me into staying after I announced that I was leaving his team. And then I realized I needed to do what was right for me. So I went back in and said, I know I said I was going to stay, but I'm not. So I switched teams. About 9 months later, the opportunity to move to Denver came up as a sales rep. And, I've been working with the guys out here quite a bit. I love Denver. My wife and I, it's just a great area, lots of sunshine, no humidity, no bugs. It's just a beautiful area, lots of outdoor biking and hiking and Frisbee and everything you can imagine. So we wanted to get out here, and they said, hey, what's it going to take to get you out here, thinking it'd be a dollar figure. And I said, well, take care of me financially. We'll figure that out. I said, I want flexibility. I want to work 2 or 3 days a week and build my small business on the side. And so we were actually able to work out a deal where I worked Monday, Wednesday, and that was it. I had the rest of the week to work on my own business.
Sounds like something from the 4-Hour Workweek. I don't know if you...
Oh, I love that book. I love Tim Ferriss.
You probably have 100 copies of it in your book warehouse.
Not quite. I got one. I'm sitting looking at it on my shelves. I read it every once in a while.
Yeah.
So that was ideal. And actually, only about 4 months later, I found myself, just thinking about my own business. It was actually right about mid-August last year. We were in the middle of textbook season. We were selling books like hotcakes. Had our best month by far. And that was kind of the point that said, all right, we're making this work. We've got enough other ideas. Let's branch out completely. And that's when I quit the sales job.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, I didn't take a ton of risk. I built something on the side. I did something part-time, and then was able to eventually kind of make that transition rather than just cutting all ties and jumping in.
Okay. Let's talk about books, because you've got a specialty in books. A lot of us don't even consider books as a category to sell in.
Nope.
Yeah, and so
I'm fine keeping it that way.
Well, books. It's not. I don't want to say it's not exciting, but you probably get very excited about it. But for most people, people don't think of selling books, and you sell books 24/7. So, what got you into books initially, and then let's just start there.
Well, I'd done books way, way, way back before smartphones even existed. My brother's a programmer. We had some software with, the old flip phones, and we didn't even have QWERTY style keyboards back then. It was just i9 or whatever they called it. And we would actually just type the ISBN in, send it to an email address. It would send it to Amazon, return all the API information, and actually text it back to your phone. And the whole process took like 30 seconds. So we had dabbled with books, my brother and I, way, way, way back, probably 12, 13 years ago. And kind of put on the back burner. In college, obviously, textbooks are expensive. You look for opportunities I ended up selling books for people on commission, because the bookstore gives $5-10. They're selling for 30, 40, 50 on Amazon. And so I would just offer a service and sell them on consignment, and kind of got back into it that way, and then forgot about it. So I dabbled. I knew there was money there. Books are simple because they're everywhere. Thrift stores, library sales, etc. People view books as a commodity at best, or a liability at worst. They're expensive, they're heavy, they take up a lot of room. And so you can almost get books for free if you know where to look and how to ask questions. And they're really easy to look up on Amazon. They've all got, for the most part, ISBNs, and you can look up the valuation. And you've got computers in your hand now, as you know, if people that do retail arbitrage, etc. You can scan a book, know exactly what it's worth, and send it in, and you just got to build an inventory. So most people start with books because it's kind of the gateway drug of Amazon. It's easy to learn. You don't need to have a lot of capital to get started. You can find books, maybe not in your neck of the woods if real estate's so expensive, but you can get them at thrift stores. Well, no, you said you were finding them at thrift stores for what, 25 cents a piece?
Yeah, there's a thrift store on the other side of town that we wanted to check it out. They had some sick deals, but I just wasn't in the book section, but that was all I was thinking about. I was like, oh man, that book sells for this. No joke.
Well, and I saw you, so we talked a couple months ago. We tried to get on the show. I think you had some car issues at the time and ended up pushing it back till now, which is cool. I guess it's fun. I'm the 50th.
You're the 50th
podcast.
And you're the first Facebook Live too. So we're trying this out.
That's a big deal.
I know. I'm surprised I didn't announce that. Like, The 50th podcast.
I don't know. There's just something about the human mind that likes nice round numbers, but
Yeah. That's
yeah.
why you have 17,000 books, right? Exactly.
Exactly. And you don't get there on your own. We'll talk about how to scale it up, but
Okay. Let's talk about that. How do you scale up to 17,000 books?
well, you can either work your tail off and trade time for money, or you can figure out other ways. There's two main ways to do it. One is the bulk books, so you buy books by the truckload from recyclers or thrift stores. The Goodwills in your area probably only put out maybe 10 to 20% of all the books that are donated,
Wow.
and the rest they either throw away, give to a recycler, or sell by the Gaylord, which is just a 4 foot by 4 foot by 4 foot box full of books. So you can buy their donations that they can't handle
Holy cow.
and go through them yourselves. I don't do that. Greg Murphy, good friend of mine, he shares a lot of his information out publicly as well. He kind of shares his bulk operation. These guys are cranking through, I think last I heard, 40,000 pounds of books every day.
Oh my gosh. This
So they're
is insane.
I mean, we're talking truckloads and truckloads, and it's it's a different business model. They're going through and they're buying everything, and maybe 10% of the stuff's actually worth listing on Amazon. The rest of it's just junk. And so they sell some of that in their warehouse, and I think that's where their business is going, is selling them, buck a book to the community. He's over in Ohio, and then they've got to figure out what to do with the rest. They either sell it to other people that are smarter than him and figure out how to make money off of his rejects, or they sell it back to recyclers just for scrap, and they turn it into toilet paper.
I was thinking they could move to a very cold city and just create a fire for
Burn it.
everybody.
Yeah, there's just something about burning books that people don't
They don't feel good
smile
about
upon.
it. Yeah.
No.
No, there's too many movies that depict burning books as like the bad guys. So
Well, you look at through history, and Germany burned a lot of books to try
Yeah.
and destroy people's cultures and to hide information. The Catholic Church has always been about hiding information historically, and so burning books just has a lot of bad connotations with it. But we live in a society where we're throwing away books by the thousands of pounds every single day, and we're just filling our landfills with junk that could be recycled or could be turned into other products.
let's talk about books by the truckload, because that's actually something that doesn't go through my mind. How would one get a truckload of books from Goodwill? Is that like some type of connection that you have to have within Goodwill?
There is, and again, I'm not the expert, so I haven't done this. So take everything I say with a grain of salt. I'm by no means an expert here, but basically you just get a relationship with the manager at the Goodwills and say, hey, I know you get a lot of donations you can't put out on your shelves. What do you do with them? And a lot of these places, they just, if you'll show up, some of them you can probably work out deals where they'll drop them off at your warehouse if you can do that, or you can send a truck yourself. But they're, again, I said earlier, people view books as a commodity at best and a liability at worst. These books are heavy. I mean, you're talking a Gaylord of books is probably 1,000+ pounds, and that's a lot of work to try and move around. You got to have forklifts or pallet jacks or trucks and big equipment. And so if you can show up and say, hey, I'll take these off your hands, $50 a Gaylord, and I'll show up and pick them up, and you'll never have to worry about it. Done and done. It's just you're just a trash service essentially. They don't need to know that you're going through them and making a bunch of money potentially. It's not easy money. We built books as a lifestyle business. The goal from day one was to quit our job and build a business. So we succeeded with step one. We've quit our job. It's a great lifestyle business. My wife and I probably only go out 4 hours a week and actually source books. And we live in Denver. We've got thrift stores everywhere. There's probably 50 to 75 thrift stores within an hour drive of our house. So we're extremely spoiled here. We get lots of access to books. And, we could go out and find books in a half day of sourcing and then spend another 2-3 hours listing the books. And that would essentially take care of our living expenses for the week. So it's a great lifestyle business. We actually went down to Florida. My brother rented a house in April. We went down and spent 2 or 3 days in Orlando, Pensacola area, and just hit up the thrift stores, listed all the books, sent them into Amazon, and then went and spent a couple days on the beach, kind of west of Pensacola with my brother. We did some fishing, just relaxed. And so it's a great lifestyle business. The books pay for your trips. You can keep your business running even while you're on vacation.
Yeah.
Now the question is, can you take it the next step? So any business where you're working half a day to a full day a week and paying for all your expenses, that's great. The question then is, like, The problem there is if you stop working, the income stops coming in. So you have to figure out a way to replace yourself.
So how have you done that?
So bulk is the one way because you don't have to be involved. You set up the operation, but it takes a lot of cash. You got to get a lease on a warehouse. You got to make sure it's got a loading dock. You need to set up assembly lines, computer systems, find ways to list the books efficiently, and then hire people to do it. So you're not talking, I mean, it's not for the faint of heart. You go from starting up a regular book business just yourself between software and a scanner and, you know, a couple other tools to get started. You can get started with $500. But if you're going to do bulk, you got to have thousands of dollars. And again, a lot of people aren't in that position to do that without borrowing and leveraging and possibly getting into a very risky situation. So we haven't gone the bulk route, although we're considering it. The other way to do it is to hire a team. So again, it's a cash flow game, and getting into books takes a lot of we were fortunate because we didn't need money back out right away. So as we built our book business and had 500 books in inventory, we weren't taking money out to pay the bills, to put food on the table. We were rolling it all back into the business. And even a year into our book business, we still hadn't taken a dime out for our own money because we had enough set aside, and through other, you know, still the full-time job and everything else, we didn't need to take any of that money. We were able to keep snowballing it. And that's huge if you're able to take out as little money as you can, because you'll just cripple the growth of your business.
That's so the same, that's the same with ours too.
Yep. You know, cash is king, and if you know, keep the business, pay your bills first of all. If you have employees, pay them from day one. Make sure you're taking care of them. You know, they're the lifeblood of your business, and if they're not happy and if they're not operating in your business, it's not going to work out well. So pay your people, pay your bills first of all. Number two, pay back into the business, and then number three, if you have to, take money out for your own living expenses. But if you don't have to, that's a huge plus. So we went out and, you know, I love to mentor and coach. And so we started finding a lot of people that were either afraid of risk or didn't want to figure out books. You know, it's not just as simple as scan a book and see if it's selling for $20 and buy it for $1 or $2. There's a lot more that goes into it. You know, understanding sales rank, understanding which books are actually going to sell. And we were able to kind of use the data. I'm a huge data junkie. We were able to use a lot of our data to kind of, you know, set up a system around that entire process and then teach that. So we put a whole training series together. We started reaching out to people, or people would reach out to us and say, hey, I really like the idea of books, but I don't have any money to get started. You know, can you teach me the system? And so we just started bringing them on as, you know, commission based. Started with my brother-in-law. He was looking for a little extra income. And so we set him up and said, hey, you know, we'll pay for your scouting app. We'll buy the books. You know, we'll do everything. We'll take all your expenses for you. And then as books start selling, we'll take a commission and give you the rest. And so we kind of played with that model, figured out exactly what worked, tweaked it over time, and then have been able to build a scouting team probably of about 15 to 20 people at this point.
That's awesome. So you take a commission off every scout, correct?
Yes.
That's awesome. Because
almost like
it's a win-win. Yeah.
It is. It's the real estate model. We put us both on the same team. We worked hard to figure out the model. Kind of the basic model right now is that, you know, at least what other people are teaching in the industry, and there's nothing wrong with it, is, you know, they set their basic parameters. I need books under, you know, 3 million sales rank, and they got to be selling for $11 on Amazon. So you set your basic rules, and then you say, hey, you're allowed to spend up to $2 or $3 per book. I will pay you $1 flat rate commission on any book you meet that meets that criteria. And so that's a good way to do it. It's easy. If someone goes out to a library sale and gets 200 books, they make $200. It's very simple to calculate. Because I built a tracking system that actually does all my accounting and does all the data for my business, I was able to set it up and say, hey, you know, we can do that model if you want. If you just want quick cash, that's great. We'll do it. If you want to get a commission on what sells, so again, if it's a $10 book and you're going to pay them $1, that's great. They might as well just take the money. But if they're finding $50 books and you're only giving them $1, they kind of feel like, hey, wait a minute, you know, this isn't a fair arrangement. And again, you're taking the risk off off the table. The books still may never sell. Yep. But we've kind of worked out a deal where if they sell a $50 book, we're taking, you know, $10 and they're going to make $30 after fees. So awesome. it kind of puts them, you know, they're driving the business. We just kind of provide the mentorship, the training, and some of the initial resources. And again, there's some economy of scale as well. if all of our 15 scouts were going to go open their own Amazon account, they're going to be paying $40 a month for the pro account. Instead of that, we're paying one $40 a month fee, and we're able to spread that out over 15 people. So there's some economies that can be built in. Same thing with a repricer, same thing with a listing software, all those things that go into it. We're able to kind of help mitigate those risks and costs up front.
So let's say like today, how many books were dropped off by the scouts?
Well, we actually work remotely. We don't have a lot of people in like the Denver area per se.
Oh, I see.
So they're not like,
so they can be anywhere. And then
they can be anywhere. We've got them in Florida, in Arkansas, Indiana.
You've got some really solid scalability there.
It is.
And it's, go ahead.
You know, it's not all, we haven't made a ton of money off the scouts. They're just starting to, you know, to go. It takes a little bit to kind of get over that initial cash flow hump. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people, you know, probably half the people we hire end up fizzling out and quitting within a month or 3. And so there's just some effort that goes into it, and you just have to, you know, understand that, but it is a way to scale. So they find the books, they list them, we pay for the shipping, we pay for all their software, we pay for their materials.
Let's talk about like the rules that they have. What categories are they not allowed to go into? What books should they not buy?
You know, we're 100% books. We do a few CDs as well. So I guess maybe 98, 99% books. I'm not opposed to looking at other categories, although with the recent brand restrictions that have just been coming out the last week or two, I'm pretty thankful I'm in books right now.
Yeah, it's true.
I may explore private label. I may explore bulk books. I may explore other categories down the road. But for now, there's a lot of upside, and I'm having too much fun. So why bother switching? But in general, nonfiction is where you want to, you know, stay with. There is some money in fiction, but you have to know what to look for. We look for technical stuff, recent items, textbooks for sure, although they go out of date fairly quickly.
Did you say you have a warehouse, or you just forward them all the way to Amazon right when you get them?
Everything's forwarded to Amazon. We don't have a central warehouse at all. Okay.
Do you think you would consider a central warehouse at some point, or?
Yeah, if we get into bulk, we would. The other thing is then people wouldn't have to list their own books. We'd actually ship them in all to the central warehouse and just hire a team to list them.
Yeah, I think that might be the next move for you, because, I mean,
it may. Again, there's economies of scale. Right now, we're in Denver, and there's no Amazon warehouses that do books anywhere near us. Most of our books get shipped back to Chicago, actually. So we're paying about 30 to 40 cents a pound for shipping rates where we are. Our scouters in Indiana and Michigan are paying maybe 15, 20 cents a pound.
That makes it, that's a big deal.
It is a big deal. And if you ship by the pallet, so if you kind of bulk up and do like a less than truckload or LTL type shipment, you're looking at paying like 2 cents a pound.
Have you done pallet loads yet, or?
I haven't. If we did a warehouse, we would.
Is this something, there's always something different about pallets. I think they take longer to go into Amazon. I actually just recently did a pallet shipment, and the time for them to receive it, you got to make an appointment. I think I used UPS Freight, and there's at least an extra 6-day delay going into the warehouse.
Yeah, I could see that, which again would hurt from a cash flow perspective. But if you're paying 2 cents a pound, I don't know what your cost savings you realize. I don't know if you actually calculated it out per pounds. But if you're cutting down from 30 cents a pound to 2 or 3 cents a pound, that's huge.
Yep. Interesting. Okay. Okay, my next question is actually, you're at 17,000 books right now. Do you think you'll be at around 34,000 next year, like double your size? Or
it's not linear. So we just came through textbook season. We've got maybe 2 weeks left, and then they'll kind of fizzle out as all the kids go back to school and buy their books. So we definitely had a lot higher demand. We typically sell 12 to 13% of our books every single month. So if you got an inventory of 17,000, you're probably selling 1,700, give or take, maybe 2,000 books. We probably sold 3,500 books last month because of textbook season, so twice the normal rate. And it's a lot of work to get back up and fill another 3,000 books. So you're eventually going to either, unless you keep growing, if you're doing 100 books a week, at some point you reach a point where you're, it's an asymptote if you go back to the math term, but you eventually reach a point where you're basically selling 100 books a week and you're listing 100 books a week. So you're staying even with your inventory levels. So we keep scaling. I think we listed a little over 5,000 books last month between all the scouts. We've started working out some bigger deals with some larger players as well and buying their books that they don't really want. So we're big into data. We've got some other software. We can get to that in a little bit, but we've basically been tracking the entire book market for the last several months, and we know what every book is worth on Amazon. We know how many times it's sold. We know what the average price is. So we basically can build a hit list of books that we know we want to buy for a buck or two or three or five, and we're able to use that data and leverage it and find partners that don't have that data, and we can essentially buy books by the thousands from them that are really good books.
It's an interesting point you made. All of this comes down to big data, understanding that data and then how you can execute on it. And it seems like you've got a pretty good niche, and those tools are only going to get better.
Yeah, a lot of it is data, and the important thing is what do you do with it?
Yeah.
And then it's just a matter of reaching out, networking. There's some people that operate that, the whole Amazon game or all of business is a zero-sum game. So if I teach you something, it's only gonna minimize my potential profits because you're gonna, take some of that market pie. I don't operate with that philosophy.
I don't either.
There's so much to learn from other people. I have a blog. Some people call me a guru. I wouldn't go that far. I really just built the blog as a way to share a little bit because as you share stuff, you're learning yourself, but also as a way to network and meet other people. And I've been able to meet lots of different individual businessmen that have different takes on how to run a book business or are playing the game differently. There's wholesalers, there's college bookstores, there's people that buy back textbooks from professors. There's so many ways to play the game, and it's just intriguing. You can learn from them. You can ask them questions and say, what are your pain points? What are your sticking points? What are the problems that you have? And then maybe I'm able to solve that with my data or my experience, and we work out a win-win scenario. So there's a huge amount of value from networking and trying to learn from others and then possibly help each other as well.
Before we go more into tools, what do you think about the whole ebook versus paperback or hardcover? I feel like the book is back. I order books all the time now. I don't really prefer the ebook feel of it.
The ebook fills a really neat segment of the market twofold. One is textbooks because they're so dang expensive, and publishers are just coming out with new editions to keep the prices high. And so ebooks, from a publishing standpoint, they can kind of control the flow of those and actually make a smaller profit per ebook, but make it every single student and essentially eliminate the third party used book market where we're making tons of money and the publishers are losing out on that. So they're trying to push it. The other way that makes sense is if you go on vacation, you could throw 50 books on an iPad and travel for a month and never run out of reading material.
Yep.
But we all spend way too much time.
Sponsors AMZSecrets.com War Room, which is now accessible to all VIPs. War Room, which directly integrates into Keyword King, tells you if your keywords that you are using in each list are actually working or not. More info to come on that.
I'm in front of computers now.
I think that's the thing. It's like we just hate looking at the screen.
Yep. And even though Kindle's got a great, they've got incredible with like their Paperwhite or whatever they call that technology, it doesn't even look like a screen. But I'd rather turn the page. I'd rather mark up the book, dog ear some pages. Yeah. And so I'm still old school that way. And the data's, market data is actually showing that physical books, the demand is going up.
Yeah, I think you're in a good spot.
I would agree. Unfortunately, a lot of our eggs are in Amazon's basket, and we're working hard to diversify away from there. Just because we're playing in their sandbox, they can change the game at any point in time. So there's obviously some concern there. Will books be solid and a strong business in 5 years? Probably. Will they be good and still sustainable in 20 years? I don't know. Mm-hmm. But it works today, and I don't see it dying tomorrow. So we're going to keep running with it as long as we can.
Well, in 20 years, they're obviously going to just implant books into our mind.
Exactly. Who knows where technology's going? The rate of change is just incredibly increasing. So again, you learn business skills, you apply it to a market. I'm not passionate about books. I don't sell books because I like them. I do enjoy reading. I just do it because it's a vehicle that we built a business around.
Actually, I was talking to my girlfriend about this. I want to build like a library in the house. It kind of like immerses you inside of all the education, and all the books are gonna be stuff that we would actually read, so it'd be pretty sweet.
Yeah, make sure you have a nice leather bound section too to make it look like you're real knowledgeable.
I was thinking about getting the gold books.
There you go.
No, I was actually thinking about just having a bunch of Kindles all stacked up.
It'd make your bookshelves a lot easier to move, that's for sure.
Yeah. All right, so you mentioned diversifying off of Amazon. Have you started that process?
We have, and again, pretty much our business is related to books still. So we've got, I sell some software that helps people earn an income, and it's related to books as well. I'm an angel investor in a startup company that also they're aiming to take on Inventory Lab and be an inventory management system to help you list books or anything quickly, manage all your data, see your key metrics in real time, that sort of thing. But again, that's related to Amazon, but it's not quite me selling physical products. It's providing services to other people. And then we've also partnered a lot with college bookstores and kind of done some acquisitions for them. So they need a lot of used books. They either buy them back from the students, but they don't get all their needs met through that. And so we're able to come in and partner with them and say, what are your needs? What are you willing to pay for the books? And then we go out and find them for them, either through our scouters. We find stuff online. We've got software that helps us do that, for example. So we're trying to get off Amazon a little bit. We're actually buying books on Amazon or from physical sources and selling them back to physical, retail establishments. So it kind of diversifies a little bit away versus everything being sold through Amazon.
Okay, let's go back into scaling your business. And you mentioned you use scouters. What software tools do you use to grow it faster?
If you're going to scout for books, there's really only one software out there that pretty much all the booksellers use. It's called FBA Scan. I think I recommended that to you as well when you were getting started with books. A Seller Tool is the name of the company there. I'd love to create my own scouting software at some point, but it's low on my list of priorities. But there's only so much data that Amazon gives you. You see a current sales rank, you see the current selling prices, and those are helpful. But there's a lot of other data points that would be useful, and I'd love to build something better at some point. For listing our books, we use Accelerlist now. I had my own spreadsheet system I created, and we actually did everything through Google Drive. So people listed the books. It kind of created links for them. They could go research the prices, price everything out, and then upload it to Amazon. And then allowed us to manage it from a central location. We can see what our scouts are listing. We can troubleshoot if there's any issues, and then kind of manage the process. And the company that I was an angel investor in is called Accelerlist. And we've actually just this week, we're going to be switching our whole team over to using them to list our stuff. So it's going to be a much easier, it's web-based interface rather than a spreadsheet. It's going to be a lot easier to list the books, see the data. For me managing the business, I can go in and look at the average rank, the average list price, all the key metrics that I need to see, and then make sure I'm paying the scouts based on what they're selling. So I'm pretty excited about that. So that's scouting, listing. From a management standpoint, I track everything within my own spreadsheet as far as knowing how much to pay the scouts, what is sold, what their metrics are, average list price. Are they listing too many cheap books? Are they listing too many books with high rank? So we can kind of look at that and troubleshoot and help them run their business a little bit better. And then we just kind of built several YouTube videos that are hidden that we give our scouts access to. They got a whole page full of videos of training videos.
Do they list the books that they find on their accounts or your account? They list on yours, right?
They list in our account. Yep. So kind of the idea is they buy the books with their own money. We provide the training. We shorten the learning curve. We pay for all their software. We provide all the tools to get them going. Basically, they have to find the books, pay for the books, and list them, and we pay for the inbound shipping, then we manage the business from there. So we'll reprice, we'll take care of customer complaints or issues or refunds that come up. We essentially manage the business. All they have to do is focus on finding and listing books.
How do you manage like the quality that they send in, or at least the quality that they post? Because I guess that could affect your seller account if they do something.
Yeah, so two questions there. One, are you talking like the actual condition? Like, are they sending in just water damaged books and just junk? Or are they sending in books that really aren't likely to sell?
Actually, the condition, like let's say they don't want to, make you mad. So they have this poorly damaged book that they bought, and then they list that as new.
Yeah.
Have you had that issue or?
We haven't yet. We always teach them, one, we don't touch anything that's water damaged. We try and stay away from stuff that's just terrible. I found that condition doesn't matter that much. It's the customer's expectations that do. So we teach them to undergrade. So if their book is, between good and very good, we tell them just to downgrade and call it good and list it and move on.
So that's like that's a nice little secret, kind of like, just actually rank your books low so that your customer gets surprised by a better looking book.
It is, stuff still slips through the cracks, but if you're selling prime, it's actually really easy. Another secret that some people have figured out is you can just go in and pretty much get feedback removed automatically. I don't know how long this will continue to last, but first off, if it's anything related to the fulfillment, so if it's a late delivery, if the package was damaged on the way, if anything along those lines happen, Amazon will just take care of the feedback anyway and just say it's their fault. But it's kind of a lesser known secret. Again, for now, we'll see how long it lasts. But pretty much any feedback, we try and do right by the customer. We reach out, but you still get, ticked off customers that just, you can't appease them no matter what you do. You give them a refund, you take care of them, and they're still mad for whatever reason. But Amazon will typically remove that feedback too if you sell FBA.
Can you go more into detail about that? Like, let's say if I get a 1-star, are you talking about product reviews?
No, I'm not concerned with product reviews because we're selling one-off books, so it doesn't reflect on my book. I'm talking product feedback, so 1 star, on the feedback. So if we get less than positive feedback, we'll reach out to the customer, we'll look at it, see what could be done. But I'm not going to spend a lot of time working on that. Again, it might be $10-15. It's not a big deal. I usually just refund and just say keep the book, sorry for the trouble, and move on, and then see if they'll remove the feedback. If they won't, you can literally just copy that order number. There is a contact link for Amazon and say, hey, I got a problem with an order or with fulfillment. You plug it in and it says, hey, what do you want to do with this? You say, I want to remove feedback. And then at least on my account, they pretty much just remove it right away.
Actually, I just noticed this today. I had someone leave me a 1-star review based on the shipping, and Amazon actually, they have some type of algorithm that detected it and it removed it by itself. So.
That's pretty nice. There's third-party softwares that do it as well. There's like feedback,
but it kind of negates stuff. Those now that if that is.
It does, and it's probably worth just doing it yourself. If you're selling thousands of items and a lot of stuff, it might not be worth it for you to poke around and deal with all that. But for us, it's on the homepage. As we're clicking through, maybe once a week, we'll go back and look at our feedback and just make sure it's still 5 stars or 100%. And if we have anything less than that, we'll try and take care of it.
So what does books look like for fourth quarter?
Really, books are centered around textbook seasons. So the bulk of our sales happen in kind of August, September as the fall semester kicks off. There's a nice little bump up with Q4. People are buying books as gifts. But again, they're probably buying new books. It's kind of weird to give a used book to a friend for a Christmas gift. We don't sell a lot of new books, so I can't really speak to that. We do notice a little uptick in December, and then strong sales again in January and February for textbook season. And then March through like June, it's a lot slower. People are still reading books for vacation, but it's more like fiction at that point. We don't sell a lot of technical textbook type materials. So our sales are much slower through the summer, and then they pick up quite a bit in the fall and the spring.
So your fourth quarter just happened pretty much.
It's as good as it gets. We, again, 17,000 books in inventory. We sold, like I said, probably about 3,500 when the dust settles, and we did very well.
Yeah, I guess you think you're gonna have way more than that by next coming into the fall.
Yeah, if our business keeps going that direction, we're looking to get more partnerships with like college bookstores and maybe even kind of become a wholesaler, buy back their books, or just partner with bigger companies. And if we can land a few of those accounts, we could be, our average scout does 100 to 200 books a month. So we look at, we have 15 scouts, give or take. We're probably getting anywhere between 1,500 and 25 or 3,000 books every month listed by them. We've kind of moved away. My wife and I still go out and scout. We still try and do maybe 200 books. We're only working about half day a week on that part of the business, though, because that's trading our time for money. We'd rather do something that's scalable. So we're probably listing as a team now anywhere between 2,000 and 4,000 books a month. And if we're able to land some bigger accounts, I could see us getting up to 5 or 10,000 books a month.
No, that's awesome. I love the whole concept of scouts, like just having people work for you on like a commission base. I think that finding the scouts themselves is probably your biggest struggle, correct?
It's not really hard. We haven't really marketed. We don't really have a section on our website that says, "Hey, we have an official scouting program." We've just had people reach out because we have a website where we're involved in the community, and people say, "Hey, I'm struggling to get started. I don't have the money to pay, $40 a month for a listing software, for a scouting software, for Amazon's fees. You can easily have 150, $200 a month in fees just right off the bat if you're going to, get all the bells and whistles." And that's a lot of money for someone that's just looking to get started and maybe doesn't have a lot of cash ready to go. So we kind of absorb that. I go back and forth. I don't know if we're going to really grow that. I see us growing our bigger partnerships and trying to land bigger accounts rather than a scout that does 100 books a month. I like that because I love helping other people start their businesses and let them realize what could happen and kind of run through the business side of things and really just get them excited about small business. I don't know why anybody necessarily would work for me because I'm the entrepreneur. I don't want to work for anybody else. So my natural bent isn't to say, hey, I would go, learn someone else's model and do it for them. But there's a lot of people that are either afraid of risk or just want the expertise or someone to kind of guide them. And I think we fill a decent niche that way. If we wanted to, we could put Craigslist ads in all markets all over the country, and we could probably drum up another 50 to 100 scouts within the next month or two, no problem. I think finding people wouldn't be that hard if we really wanted to grow that piece of our business, but I see us doing more with our data and more with our partnerships.
Where do you see the data going in terms of, selling more books? Like, what's the strategy there?
Well, again, there's two basic philosophies. One, whether you're working yourself or working with scouts, you've got to get efficient, kind of honing your skills, learning what to look for. And so we kind of set up, and I share it on my website as well, kind of our basic rules. So if the rank is less than 1 million, that sounds high, but for books, that just means it hasn't sold in 5 or 6 days. So if the book's less than 1 million, maybe even less than 2 million, we want to see it selling for $10 or more. That's a piece of it. Once it gets to higher ranks, like 3, 4, 5 million, we want to see the book get, $30, $40, $50 for the list price. So we start to look for different things that way. And that's the first piece of it, is getting smarter with your data. And if you do that, our average sale price for the year is a little over $22, I think. So we're cherry picking only the best of the best. We actually look at our data from time to time. You're familiar with the 80-20 rule?
Yeah, Pareto's principle.
Yeah, exactly. So say it again.
Best rule ever.
Yes. And this is kind of the fundamental concept of the 4-hour work week. A lot of what you're doing has leverage. Sorry, a little bit of what you're doing has leverage and has a lot of results. And a lot of what you're doing, you could probably cut it out and it wouldn't hardly affect anything. So for us, we started looking at our list price. So we list our books by hand, and then we let a repricer take over after several months of being on the market. So we try and price according to the market and wait to get the sales rather than chasing the next sale. But we found that, I just pulled the data before our call, 23% of the books we listed, so pretty much 1 out of 4 or 1 out of 5 of the books that we're finding, we're listing for less than $10. And by the time you factor in that maybe only 70 to 80% of those books actually sell, you end up dropping the price on some to get the sale. And on a $10 book, you're not making that much money, or an $8 book or a $7 book. You're losing a lot in inbound shipping to Amazon, Amazon's fees, storage fees, etc. And there's very little room for profit, especially if you're paying $1 or $2 for the books. So 23% of the books were less than $10, and it was only 6% of our profits at the end of the year. So you start looking at those and say, all right, we could actually work 1 day less a week, or if you're working 40 hours a week, you could cut a quarter of those hours, and you'd still end up at the end of the year with 94% of your overall profits. So that's like a no-brainer. So just start buying smarter, be better with your data, and say, all right, if I'm going to build something that's scalable, I don't want to waste my time selling $5 and $6 and $7 books and making mere pennies. Now, Greg, guys that do bulk, they've already bought the books up front. They've already invested in the warehouse and the labor. If they can make 2 pennies or even a penny of marginal revenue, they should list it and do it. So it's a different game. I think Greg's average sale price is probably $10, if not $8 or $9. But he can afford to play that game because it's not his time being traded for money. He's built a system that does it for him.
I feel
So
like,
I'd love.
yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I feel like there's a ton of room for scaling. I would like if I was to do it, I'd go the bulk route, and then I'd have like this thing that you would just put a huge case of books, and it would auto scan it. That would be really cool, and then it would list it from there. It'd read the ISBN number and then upload the listing over there. And so the goal would just be figuring out how to get as many books as possible and just getting them listed automatically into Amazon.
Yeah, you're talking about building a funnel where you just focus on finding truckloads of books.
Yeah, and then
That's kind of the elusive way of what people are trying to do. If you could figure out something that would flip the book over and scan it through and throw your label on it, throw it in the right, pallet box to send off to Amazon,
well, I think
and remove all the human element, that'd be huge.
I would say just get like 6 scanners all in one machine, and whichever side the label is on, it would scan. I think that would be the way to do it, rather than trying to flip it over and see where. And then, because I've seen I don't know if you've seen the Google machine where it scans every page of a book. So the technology is there to do anything you want with the book. It's just, dude, they scanned like millions of books all at once. Like it was insane, and then uploaded it to Google Books. And then so.
Yeah, technology is fascinating. If you're able to do that, at what cost? I mean, you're talking $1 million plus to build some sort of automated mechanism. And if you could do that, then by all means, off you go.
No, you're the book guy.
So there's 2 basic strategies. One is cherry picking and kind of going the scout route, building a team that way, or just doing it yourself. And the other is the bulk mentality, where you just suck every penny you can and try and make a profit anywhere you can. I would love to use the data to partner with bigger companies and basically have them do the filtering for me and make it worth their time, fit into their workflow, and then just essentially be buying books in bulk, but only get the best ones. And so that's kind of a tricky subject. That's not just, it's not just as simple as calling a library and saying, hey, I want your old ladies running your library sales. And I know there's younger people that run them too. I don't want to offend anybody, but typically these library sales are run by old ladies that are volunteers, and they're not going to figure the technology out. So it's not as simple as just giving them a scanner and saying, hey, scan these books, and if it meets certain criteria, I'll buy it. You got to find better sources and find ways to provide value and partner with what they're already doing. But that's where I see our value going, is using that data to essentially buy pre-selected books that we know are worth selling.
Okay, so we've got about 7 minutes left. Is there anything that I left out in the interview? I think I covered every single thing.
Sweet. Yeah, we talked about scaling. The first piece is don't be afraid of risk. You can be like you can be like Dave and quit your job and just jump in and figure it out from day one. You built something a little bit on the side. You had the confidence that you could do it, but there's still the fears there. I took a more conservative approach, being a married guy and trying to make sure I keep the in-laws satisfied, keep my family satisfied, and make sure that I can build something that's there. So you can really, manage your scenario, your situation to where you kind of step back and scale up your business at the same time. So you don't have to be afraid of risk to be an entrepreneur. You just have to be willing to work harder on the side, spend less than you're making, and give yourself that option to build something. So step one is figuring out, if it's a lifestyle business, that's what it was at first. Then step 2 is how do you scale it? The other piece that's important, we didn't really talk about it, but you have to define success when you start out. So no matter where you get in business, you're always going to be, the American way is just more. You got to keep up with the Jones. You got to figure out, there's always people that sell more than me. I actually don't share my sales figures. 2 reasons. One, if I'm selling way more than you, you just look at it as bragging, or maybe you see it as a way that you can say, hey, that's what's possible. So maybe it's motivating, but I don't want to come off as arrogant or proud and, hey, I'm better than you because I have more sales. 2, there's always people that are going to be much, much more advanced and selling way more than I am. And they might look at me and go, who are you? You got nothing. So, and sales are misleading. It's really what's profit at the end of the day. Yep. There's people selling millions of dollars, but their margins may be minimal and they might not be making much for the effort they're putting into it. Or maybe they have 30, 40, 50% margins and they're killing it. And that's great. But you have to define success early. If you don't, there's always the mentality you just have to get more. So success for us from day one was to quit our day job. We did. Now we're not going to stop there. And the challenge is that no matter how good we did, last month was our best month by far. We had an awesome month on Amazon and some of our other book sources as well outside of Amazon. And if I'm not careful, the challenge is just to keep building more and more and more versus saying, all right, I'm going to define success as making X amount in profit. And if I get to that point, now I can figure out, do I want to give money away if I make more than that, invest in other people's businesses, angel investing or helping other people start up stuff. You got to define success in different ways. If your success is just dictated by the dollar value, I think at some point there's just less and less satisfaction that comes from that.
Agreed. And just for the record, I don't post my sales record numbers either. I actually have the same beliefs that you do around that. Mainly because there's always bigger fish in the sea, and then also you just don't want to come off as bragging. And there are some people that do it, and it is what it is. But
well, and a lot of it can be motivational. There's guys that share the numbers, and they're literally, they have honest intentions, and they're sharing what's possible, and I think that's great. There's other people that are just trying to brag, and the bigger fish look at that and just laugh. But we're all at different points in our journey. I'm a year and a half, 2 years in, and my numbers are going to be different than someone who's 6 months in or 10 years in, for that matter.
Well, it was awesome to have you on the show. Appreciate it. Is there anywhere people can contact you and your site link?
Yeah, thebookflipper.com would be the website. You can email me, thebookflipper@gmail.com. I've also got a Facebook page and YouTube channel and all that kind of stuff. But if you're interested in books, you're interested in getting into Amazon, I think books are a great way to start. Again, most people, that's the gateway drug. They start with books. They move into other glamorous things like private label and wholesale, retail arbitrage, online arbitrage, for example. But for us, books is where it is. Lord willing, we'll be somewhere else a couple years down the road. I get bored of doing the same thing, so we'll keep moving. But there's a lot of runway and a lot of space yet, so we'll keep going. But yeah, if you got ideas or you got ways to use data or you got things to consider, I always love chatting with other business people and learning from them and sharing if I'm able. And if you're just looking to get started, the blog is a great way to do it. There's lots of great resources on the web. And it's just a great community. I'm happy to help people, get started, whether they're taking step 1 or step 100. Hopefully I can help you and you can help me, and it'd be great. So if you have ideas, by all means, reach out. Let's connect.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks for coming on. Everybody, thanks for tuning in live. David Aladdin, Caleb Roth, out. Sponsor is AMZ Secrets Keyword King. What if you could sell 10 more units per day on Amazon, or 100 more units per day? The key to selling more on Amazon is driving more traffic to your Amazon listing that's related to your listing. Reviews help, yes. Quality photos help, yes. However, increasing relevant traffic is king. The only way to sell 100 more units per day is having at least 100 more people visit your listing per day. Keyword King leverages smart algorithms to assist you in building the best keyword lists for all your products. Not only will you hit 5,000 characters total and 1,000 characters per line in the back end for your Amazon listing, you will do so knowingly with the best combination of words. Right now, you might have 3,000 characters filled up, and that's pretty darn good. But you really don't know for sure, and you should actually be at 5,000 characters. It's tiring, time-consuming, and cramped in Amazon's back end. Keyword King performs many tasks on the fly, live, while you are building your list, and ensures your list is as powerful as can be. It intelligently eliminates spaces, duplicate keywords, and other negative things that would hurt your sales. You can save an infinite amount of keyword lists, return to them later, and compare which lists are performing best for your products. Best of all, it allows for a one-click translation of your first and second rows to your fourth and fifth rows in Spanish. Over 55 million potential U.S. shoppers are Hispanic in the U.S., and they type directly into Amazon in Spanish. These keywords are often untargeted and easy sales to add to your bottom line. It does this all while applying smart keyword cleaning algorithm. In the end, organic traffic to your listing is free. Getting free high-quality traffic is the way to build sustainable, long-term Amazon businesses. Keyword King, will destroy your competition using amzsecrets.com.
Guys, I hope you guys loved the podcast as I did. Be sure to join our Facebook Mastermind secret group at amzsecrets.com/FB. It would help tremendously. Also, if you could leave a quick review on iTunes. Every question has an answer for Amazon, and finding the right one is critical to your success. amzsecrets.com does this, and it does it all for free. So why not? See you guys all there. This podcast has been directed by David Aladdin, a global king in logistics, strategy, and secrets. David Aladdin, out.